Hello, brilliant and embodied souls. My name is Kim. Welcome to or welcome back to my channel. It is almost the end of my work week, and I am feeling called to share the decks that have really been calling to me at present. So these are the decks that are like on my tarot desk, so to speak. They are the ones who have captured my imagination this spooky season. But admittedly, spooky season for me has taken a more sad and reflective and grief-centered turn. I'm not going to go into the reasons for that within this video. It's just too personal. But sometimes, right, what's going on externally, aka spooky season, right? That time of the year where, maybe we want to like watch horror movies or, there's just a playfulness within the season. Doesn't necessarily like reflect what's going on inside of ourselves. So I'm kind of in that space. And some of the decks that I've been working with reflect the space that I have been in, but also reflect the seasonality and just the feeling within the air. So let's talk about the decks without further ado. So I went to Italy in September, and I went to a really robust tarot shop while I was in Milan. This shop had so many decks, like many out of print decks, many limited edition decks, older decks as well as new decks. And I came across this beauty, but what I actually have come to realize is that this even though I bought it in a shop, might be a counterfeit deck. So that was a big disappointment to me to realize that this deck that I procured in a shop was actually a counterfeit. So I'm sharing all of this with you to just say that it's really easy to be duped. I don't think that the shop owner understood what they were offering and that it was a counterfeit deck. But counterfeit decks are like all over the place, like even in like legitimate stores these days. So, just all of that to be said, to, be careful. But this deck is really great. It is called, I'll leave a link to where you can legitimately purchase this deck. But the deck itself is called Tarot Genealological Fugaro Elemental. I believe that, it's a Spanish deck. Oops. It's in Spanish, and I believe that the creators are Spanish, even though I bought the deck in Italy. But it is a, man, I've got some upside down cards going on here. Sorry, guys. The deck is incredibly pagan, full of sorcery and mythos, nature-based mythos. It's very, in some ways, like ancient feeling. There's an homage to maybe ancient Greece, ancient Rome, the old ways, if you will, before Christianity really took its hold on humanity. Or even some of the other Abrahamic religions like became as popular as what they did. This deck feels like it predates like that kind of consciousness, which makes it really, really cool to work with if you're a pagan inclined nature-based magic practitioner. This is a really great deck for you. It is a Pips with Personality deck. The minor cards have symbols representing the elements. There's no abstraction going on in this deck, you know, no cups, wands, etc. But, you know, we've got a lot of elemental and animal energy within the minor cards. And then the majors are just like so deeply mythic. And it's a mythos that could really serve a lot of different types of people. You know, not all mythos, obviously, but, you know, like a European based mythos feels represented within this deck, but also beyond. Like you know, this Hierophant card is a great example. There's something about this that is cross cultural, but not in a erasure or appropriative kind of way. Yeah, I'm just really digging this deck a lot, and it goes really well with the Old Ways Magic Oracle, which has been blowing my mind. I adore the art in this deck. It's so intricate, so thoughtful, so psychedelic in a way, but deeply earthy. The creator of this deck has rooted it in the Celtic pantheon, which I don't personally work with. So I tend not to really look at the guidebook all that much. You know, instead, I just really pay attention to what the cards themselves convey to me. The guidebook also has a lot, ties a lot of the cards to the Wiccan Wheel of the Year, so the Esbats, Sabbats, that kind of thing. Again, I don't work with any of that kind of frame. That's just not my framework for my spiritual practice. But nevertheless, I just find that the images are really powerful. YouTube might not like that one. So I love this pairing of the Tarot Genealogical and the Old Ways Oracle. The art styles, the color palette, everything about them is so great. You know, if you want me to talk about the Tarot Genealogical more, please let me know down in the comments. But I do have some reservations about showing that deck because it is, my copy is a counterfeit, and that's just kind of, it's not great. And I'm actually gutted when I realized that I had a counterfeit copy that I thought was legitimate. So there it is, folks. There it is. Okay, let's switch gears just a tiny bit and talk about the Stone and Shadow Oracle. I have a full review of this oracle, so definitely go check that out if you are so inclined. This is a digital collage deck that is very moody, very underworld, very gothic. There's all kinds of like catacombs and tombstones and headstones and cathedrals and stained glass. So this deck, unlike the Old Ways Oracle and the Tarot Genealogical, feels very you know, more fast, like further down our timeline, if you will, humanity's timeline. You know, this feels on the one hand modern, yet a kind of time traveler's deck, because we are going back, and there's this ethereal portals aspect or feel to this deck. There's a lot of nature imagery in it as well, and this card is a great example. But you know, there's just so many you know, kind of gothic themes, and I'm feeling called to like the dankness the sadness, the representation of death within this particular deck. It feels really appropriate for just the feelings that I've been personally having. And, as well as the time of the year, like there's definitely something spooky about this deck. So I'm feeling very seen within this particular deck. It's touching into the grief that I mentioned earlier, but is also of the season, with all of the darkness, the shadows, gravestones, etc. It gets along very, very well with the Tarot of Vampires, which is another deck that I really enjoy working with at this time of the year. I'm thinking about swapping my daily draw position. Definitely check out my daily practice video where I talk about how a particular spread that I use to do my daily practice. I always have a directive card, a card that really tells me what to do in the coming day. I typically use Circle of Doors, or COD as I like to call it, for that. But I will swap her out for another deck, and I'm thinking Tarot of Vampires could be a great focal point or directive action deck for this time of the year. Vampires, just feel perfect. This deck is moody, creepy, cheesy. It definitely has that Halloween feel to it. And it goes really, really well with the Stone and Shadow Oracle. Because of all of the tombs and headstones and cathedrals. It's both decks are like overly opulent and kind of nostalgic. I'm really digging the combo. I'm really feeling this particular combo. I've also wanted to study Tarot Vampires in a little bit more depth, and I'm not quite there yet, but I could see myself continuing to work with this deck and actually maybe move into a study with it, even in November. I have used this deck well past the spooky season, Halloween season. So we'll see. We'll see where that goes for me this year. So, you're maybe picking up on the fact that I've got some like tenderness and rawness moving through my psyche at this point in time. So I just really felt called to work with something really soft, really gentle, but is of the moment. And so I ended up picking up this deck, Earthly Souls and Spirits Moon Oracle. This is a tarot tube favorite. I feel like so many people were talking about this deck a while back. It used to be an independently produced deck. It's now available mass market. It's very cozy witch. I mean, this has a very particular vibe, right? All the witch hats, the witch archetype interacting with all kinds of animals, specifically like crows, dogs, cats. There's so many cats in this deck. A lot of owls too. Pumpkins, like this card says it all. And I was not initially drawn to this deck when I first came across it. It was just not my thing. I tend to not be a like cozy hug, kitschy, like that aesthetic tends to not be my thing. But you know, this at this point in time, I just really needed the like soft hug messages that come through in this deck. Everything about this deck is kind of light and love and gentle and sweet. It really feels like eating a bunch of Halloween candy working with this deck. That innocent, playful, sweet, but just a touch spooky, but like spooky in just the right kind of way. That is what is going on in this deck, and it feels right for me at this particular moment. I've really been liking it, actually. Another oracle that has really wanted to come forward right now is the Magic of You oracle, another mass market deck. Very beautiful artwork. It's written by Fiona Horn. I enjoy Fiona Horn's writing. It's to the point. It's very useful. There's clear guidance that comes through in her guidebook. And then we have this very ethereal, again, very pagan, witchy, sorcery kind of artwork. I really like the keywords that come with this particular deck. I don't think you need the guidebook to actually work with this deck, beyond like a couple of cards like this one, where you do kind of just want to understand what's going on in the card. Some of them are really easy to understand, just working with the card imagery. This is a great example, like flash over, it's like, okay, great, got it. But this is a very fantasy kind of deck. Also at times, a touch psychedelic feeling and surreal feeling. That kind of feeling or energy is calling to me right now. And I just really love the juxtaposition of human figures with nature elements. The humans are subsumed and even consumed by nature. So this deck does feel like it's addressing issues of decay and liminality, which are just so seasonally appropriate. Sorry if the cards are picking up my light and glare, but this is one of my favorite cards, Buho. It's so evocative. That's the thing about the artwork in this deck. It's very, very visceral and evocative. I can feel the messages of this artwork in my body. If I do journey work with these images, I get very profound messages that bubble up from inside of my body. Really cool. Very, very cool. And mass market. A mass market gem. The final deck that I want to share with all of you is a deck that I don't hear a lot of people talking about. There's walkthroughs and everything. It's a mass market deck, readily available, but people don't seem to be into it. And I guess I can understand why, and that is the Lorenzi Tarot. This is a fever dream of a deck. It is incredibly surreal. It is not messing around. There's a lot of repeated symbolic language within this deck, which I find very interesting. It does feel like I've walked into somebody's fever dream when working with this deck. We've got giraffes and flamingos and peacocks. It's weird. The animals chosen in this deck are beyond, or like what? But I mean, like, check this out. It's very, I would say, kind of creepy. There is creepy elements to this deck. There's hearts and, people with dismembered limbs. It's wild. This is a wild deck. There's something about this deck that is meeting me in some of my existential dread. This strength card is an example, right? I sometimes feel like the figure depicted in this particular card, there's something that's been severed about my experience. Something is like cut off between like what I see and what I want to say as an example. It is not a deck for everybody. It's not a beginner deck by any means. Like I said, the symbolic language of this deck is like totally onto itself. The guidebook does provide a little bit of insight into, what's depicted, what does it mean. I find that very helpful. I think there could have been more of that. The guidebook is pretty big, but you actually have like quite a lot of white space within the deck. It really does focus on the artwork as opposed to some of the messages and meanings. The meanings conveyed are very bog standard meanings. This isn't the kind of guidebook that's going to rock your world in terms of tarot understanding. It's the kind of guidebook that allows you to see the images in maybe even greater detail, and does provide some insight into the artist's intentions. So I do consult the guidebook just to get more info on the symbology. But like check this out, right? Like an elephant with butterfly ears. Like there's something really, really imaginative about this deck. There's also a lot of cohesiveness in terms of the symbolic language. So for example, all of the knights are centaurs. And I don't know, there's something like about centaur energy at the moment for me. We've got lots of centaurs in this deck. We've got centaurs in Tarot Genealological. There's like something going on with my Chiron that, it's just really calling to me at the moment. What can I say? But just, like that myth, like the myth of Chiron has always been really, really fascinating to me. I do have tons of like Sagittarius placements in my tropical astrology chart. So it makes sense. It's an archetype that I work with quite a bit. The idea of the wounded healer. That's an archetype that really resonates with me. Let me show just a few more of the major cards from this deck. Like this is a really interesting Wheel of Fortune. Hopefully YouTube doesn't flag that as well. We've got a David Bowie-esque depiction for the Sun card, which is really, really cool. It's a really fascinating deck. And surprisingly, it reads, it's not a clear reader, but it's not clear, but it's been accurate. What do I mean by that? I'll lay out cards and, I do really have to lean into my own understanding of the tarot. It's not always readily available within the actual imagery. But the deck itself seems to have a revealing consciousness. It's the kind of deck that might be elusive at first, but then when you sit with the cards, something very powerful has been revealed. I've liked the strangeness of this deck. Its surreal nature has really been doing it for me. It's not really like of the season. It is creepy though. This is a pretty creepy deck. And it does give me a visceral reaction. So maybe it's for you. Those were the decks that I wanted to share with all of you. I hope you have a fantastic rest of your day, and I'm gonna say goodbye for now and see you in the next video. So much love till then.